Well, thanks a lot, everybody. I'm overwhelmed by how many people I see out there. And I want to start off with telling you a story that I think really encapsulates my message that I'm going to try to deliver in just a few minutes. And that is, of course, there's no compensating controls for a weak Active Directory. The story is, I'm in a nondescript conference room at one of the largest insurance companies in America. The head of IT audit is there. That's who my client is. The CIO is there. The CIO is getting visibly upset because we are arguing about the structure of their Active Directory. Here's the two forests they had. They're all on one big, happy IP network. Do you see any problems? This company relied on tens of thousands of independent agents who owned and managed their own PCs and their own networks at, heaven knows how many different locations, and heaven knows what level of security or lack thereof that they had on all of these PCs. Who knows which agents even were malicious, much less which agents had malware on their system, right? My risk that I was pushing on here was that any system that's vulnerable or any malicious agent could attack anything on their network, right? What was their compensating control? What was their response that we were arguing about? It's in a separate forest, and corporate doesn't trust the agent forest. Well, I'm getting good feedback out there that most of you see the tragic humor to that, right? The fallacy that that's based upon. We're all on one big happy IP network, so any device in any agent office could attack anything else in corporate. If you can send an IP packet to it, you can attack it. So the problem is we had a misconception based upon what Active Directory structure provided. Forests are not firewalls. Now this is not, unfortunately, an isolated incident. I see it coming up over and over again over the years, and that's why my warning is to beware compensating controls when it comes to Active Directory. Active Directory is just so foundational in nature, and the services it provides are just so fundamental. We're talking about privileged account management and authentication, that time and again compensating controls to make up for some kind of weakness in your AD foundation are found to not compensate for anything at all, and in fact are just an illusion. Just like with the insurance company, they oftentimes provide a false sense of security, and I'm going to explore this. I'm going to ask you to look at AD risks from about 3 different perspectives to try to really drive this home. Some of the risks I talk about are very relevant and that we're seeing right now and are making the headlines. Others are a little bit older, but it all goes into this overall theme that I've seen over and over again of placing undue reliance on certain objects or boundaries that we perceive in Active Directory that aren't really there. Then we'll ask, what about some of these very popular technologies right now? Do they make up for a weak Active Directory? So first of all, let's just talk about classic boundary-related risks in Active Directory. And this is just variations on a theme of what I already demonstrated with that insurance company story. Again and again, we see that the topology objects within Active Directory, we have so many of them. We have forests, trees, domains, organizational units, sites, to an extent even groups, that we place undue confidence on those, or we give them jobs that they just simply cannot perform. A domain is an account boundary. We used to think it was a security boundary, but it turns out that it's the forest that's the security boundary, right? Well, we make that mistake in lots of different ways. And a couple of the other ones that I've come across over time are, for instance, non-dedicated domain controllers. Now, thankfully, we don't see this that much nowadays, but I used to see it a lot, and that is, we're going through, we're looking at the 20 different domain controllers, the 200 different domain controllers at an organization, and the IT folks are saying, why are you asking for a list of services on every domain controller? They're all duplicates. We find a domain controller that has a significant application on it. It's doing more than just being a domain controller. I found one that had Oracle Financials on it. Worse, I found one with IIS that turned out to be publishing a website to the internet. This was an organization that had information that bad guys would kill for, too. So the point is, any application has an attack surface, right? But when you put that on a domain controller, now you just exposed everything in your entire network to whatever attack surface you have there with Oracle Financials or with IIS and whatever IIS is exposed to. Here's maybe one that's a little more simple and maybe is down in the weeds, but again, it just shows the minefield that's out there if we don't really understand what's going on in AD. And that's good old everyone. So everyone, well-known security principle. You have one domain, one forest. That's simply all the user accounts and all the computer accounts in that forest. As soon as you trust another domain, it suddenly instantly inflates to include all of the users and all of the computers in that domain. And again, I've seen where that was not taken into account when we went out and acquired another entity. And we never intended for everybody over there in company X that we just bought now to have access to the stuff. I ended up putting this here under boundary controls as well because, well, I think it fits, and that is, with the advent of credential artifact harvesting, pass the hash, Mimikatz, and so on, making it so easy to do that, we now see, wow, there's a whole boundary we never realized that we need. We need a boundary around privileged user accounts. We only want them to log on to systems that are guaranteed to be at a state of security that's appropriate for privileged accounts. If we have privileged accounts logging on to end user PCs, we're leaving credential artifacts out there for the next piece of malware to harvest and take over. And that's, it's happening over and over again. And I think that's yet another example of boundaries and not realizing the interdependent nature of a Windows Active Directory network. Okay, this is a natural follow-on, and that is resources in AD-dependent systems. So by an AD-dependent system, primarily we're talking about a Windows workstation or Windows server. If it's a member of the domain, it has a deep, lower than foundation level security dependency on Active Directory. If we can take over Active Directory, we can take over anything on any PC in the domain, right? That is the cost of all the benefits that we get with Active Directory. We get centralized authentication and account management and system control, but that security dependency goes along with it. And let's be fair, it's not limited to just Windows. More and more, and we should be, this is a good trend, and that is Unix and Linux systems are being made a member of Active Directory, either with stuff that's built into your favorite Linux flavor like Red Hat, or third-party integration software that makes a Linux box or even a Mac box a member of AD, kind of equal to a Windows system. So that's a good thing, but we need to re-examine our security controls because we've been managing that Linux system probably as though it's a pretty isolated, independent system, and now it has this deep fundamental security dependency on AD. And that means anything else on that system, right? So every file, every account, and so on. Now there's also applications. Don't forget this. There's applications that could be running in the cloud or on a non-integrated AD system So it's running on Linux. Linux is not integrated with AD, no security dependency at the OS level, but the application uses single sign-on or integrated sign-on with Active Directory. In other words, when you log onto the application, you're logging on with your AD account. Okay, well, that application, those business operations, and all the data within that application now have a security dependency on AD. And the point is, whatever your aggregate risk is in AD, whether you've got a very secure, very clean, organized AD or a really dirty, messy AD, whatever that aggregate risk is, all of the systems that have a security dependency on AD now get that risk. That's just how it works. And so it doesn't mean we shouldn't use AD, it means we need to do AD right. Okay, can we stretch this a little bit further though? What about cloud applications that we are bucking the trend with? We're not integrating it with AD for whatever reason. Haven't got around to it, or we don't want to. Maybe we don't want to because we know we've got some skeletons in the AD closet over here, and we just want some isolation and independence for this certain cloud application or some app running on-prem. And so at the OS level, platform level, application level, no integration with AD, no direct security dependency. Are resources in those applications still exposed to vulnerabilities and risk from AD? Probably, very probably. Why? Who is accessing those applications? Who's administering and provisioning entitlements on those applications? Employees at your company. What are they doing this from? About this much they're doing probably from an iPad or some mobile device. The rest of it they're doing from their PC, whether it's a Mac or a Windows system. If it's a Windows system, it's definitely part of the domain. If it's a Mac, chances are it's quote-unquote part of the domain too with integrated authentication, and therefore has a security dependency on AD. So what does that mean? Well, if me, the bad guy, if I'm able to work my way and finally get to Bob's PC and get my malware running on Bob's PC by jumping from account to account and from system to system using vulnerabilities in my AD Windows environment, now I'm there on Bob's PC. When Bob goes and accesses this completely independent application, I'm able to tag along. And depending on how sophisticated I am, I'm able to tag along at a level that I can initiate my own transactions or go and look at information that I'm not waiting around for him to go and look at. Now, I can only get so deep into the weeds on this. If any of this seems like, is that right? I'm happy to talk to you. I'll be over at the Quest booth after this. But the bottom line is, if we're accessing applications or other information with no direct AD dependency, but from an endpoint that is controlled by AD, then there's still a significant level of exposure to whatever risk we have in our AD environment. So can we roll out multi-factor authentication and compensate for a weak Active Directory? Don't get me wrong, I love MFA, I use MFA, I recommend it, I believe in it. But there's no silver bullet, and there's certainly no silver bullet for a weak Active Directory. Just as one quick technical example, pass the hash. Multi-factor authentication unfortunately can't protect you anywhere close to 100% against pass the hash. That's why we still need to do things like Red Forest and privileged account management and so on. But let's forget that esoteric example and just look again at this. Let's say we're using multi-factor authentication widely, even for the interactive logon at end-user workstations. So now, when Bob logs on at Bob's PC and has to perform a human presence test of authentication, can we be sure? We can never be sure, right, if we're security people. But can we have a high degree of confidence that that's really Bob logging on? Sure. That's what MFA provides. Okay, Then an application starts on that same PC in that logon session, and a certain file is accessed, or a cloud website is accessed. Can we be sure, can we have a extremely high degree of confidence that that is still Bob? Well, again, if there's malware running on that PC, it's gained persistence, Bob logs on, it starts up, it is Bob. We don't know if it's really Bob or not, if we're being truthful with ourselves and realizing what happens to companies out there in the news all the time can happen to us and our end users. Our end users are going to click that link, right? And they're going to get infected. Bad guys are going to collect credentials. They're going to jump from system to system, account to account, end up on Bob's PC. So what do we have to do then if we're going to use MFA to really compensate for this? We're going to have to bludgeon Bob to death with multi-factor human presence authentication tests over and over again. Every time he does anything that we want to get that high degree of assurance on. And obviously, that's not going to work. Otherwise, all the MFA providers out there would not be touting dynamic, risk-based, real-time decision-making about when and where and how often to do step-up authentication, right? So, again, this isn't about not using MFA or not using AD. You don't ever want to be a security cynic. There's always a way to get around things. But it's just the fact that there's no substitute for doing Active Directory right. And the same thing goes for privileged account management. If we implement PAM, and I love PAM, I think it's definitely the way to go to manage all those privileged accounts, root accounts, admin accounts, and so on. It's a no-brainer. But is it going to make up for a weak foundation where we don't know what is out there in Active Directory? We have no idea which entitlements are up to date, when is the last time they were reviewed, who owns this group, is this organizational unit up to date, is the identity information up to date on user accounts, so that when people look at their job title, when they're reviewing an access request, they're really seeing what that person's current role is. See, PAM can't make up for that. None of these technologies can make up for foundational, fundamental stuff like that. So there's just no substitute to having a clean, non-dusty, non-rusty Active Directory. The first thing we need is understanding. So anybody who's making decisions about the design of security controls, and they are going to leverage some aspect of your Active Directory structure, needs to understand Active Directory structure, or it needs to be reviewed by somebody that really understands how AD and Windows and all of this rest of the distributed, heterogeneous, hybrid network works in terms of security dependencies. And by the way, one of the best treatments of that whole topic of security dependencies that I saw is in some of the documentation for Red Forest, or ESAE, whatever that stands for, from Microsoft. But if we don't understand how AD works, then we're going to be making mistakes like that insurance company, and we're going to be, our executives are going to be caught defending positions that just don't have any defense. Then it's about really boring stuff like naming conventions. Naming conventions really help with Active Directory because there's so many objects, and it can allow us to make our monitoring so much more intelligent, but also simple if we have naming conventions that help us identify types of accounts and types of groups. It just makes things show up that are wrong so much more quickly. To do that, we need visibility. So we need to be able to look out, and we need to be able to answer any question about our Active Directory environment. We need to be able to instantly say, how many user accounts do we have that fit this criteria? Or what was the structure of this group? What was the membership of this group for the past year? When has it changed, and what's the makeup? What are the job titles, the predominant job titles in this group? Visibility, reporting. The natural follow-on to that is awareness of changes in AD, because you might go through a costly, laborious cleanup of Active Directory, but as soon as you're done, what happens? Entropy kicks in, it starts rusting immediately, right? So the only way to know what's happening is to know what's happening and have visibility into changes. Right along with that is accountability. So when changes are made, who made them? Were the proper procedures, approvals, and reviews put in place? Are our controls actually effective, or are they just on some forgotten piece of policy documentation somewhere? Okay, so I wish I could say that if your Active Directory is perfectly secure, then the rest of your business is perfectly 100% secure. We know that's not true. But the opposite is for sure true, and that is, if your Active Directory is insecure, the rest of your IT infrastructure is at risk. And unfortunately, AD is not a foundation that can be repaired like this. This is a little building that we helped shore up against hurricanes in Belize. And all it required was to add some cross braces with decent shear strength to keep that building on top of those piles when a hurricane comes. It's not that easy with Active Directory. If you just imagine those cross braces as some of these newer popular technologies that we talked about, you can't just slap some cross braces onto AD and make up for an insecure Active Directory foundation. Really what you've got is a foundation built on unstable ground to begin with, and that's where we need to solve the problem. Thank you.